All right, we hopping right into this. I'm excited. I've been waiting for this one. Yo, he has 34 minutes. It's a whole half hour. And I was expecting something like around 50. But this is insane too. This is him talking about probably the best fan map. No, I wouldn't say fan map, but the best map community-wise. Everyone loves Origins. I like it. It's definitely one I definitely play most of in Black Ops 3. And it was definitely a really good one in Black Ops 2. So I'm excited to see what he has to say about it. But without further ado, let's get started.
My name is Samantha. I'm going to tell you how all this really began.
Let me know.
Every journey begins with a single step, and Origins was step one in the greatest zombies arc ever told. Origins released August 27th, 2013, as the finale to
He's
the
using Black Ops 2
series and the
2's cutscene.
cutscene.
That's why it looks pretty outdated.
Since its inception, it has been a constant in the holy top 3 of zombie maps, seeing some of the most critical acclaim ever.
Top 3.
Origins was an ambitious and expansive title, delivering more content than any zombies map had ever seen. It sets up the Black Ops 3 storyline, introduced our new, old characters, and solidified the quest-style map as the modern zombies format. As far as gameplay goes, it made waves with tons of new content, like 4 wonder weapons and an extremely complex Easter egg. Origins is so loved by the community that many people even tend to
I wouldn't say it's that
criticism.
complex.
And despite being a masterpiece, Origins is actually held in a little bit too high of a regard. That is to say, just because it's fantastic doesn't mean it's perfect. And so, as always, today in Zombies Retrospective, we'll be taking a critical approach to our review and not just looking at the good and amazing, but also the bad and ugly of Origins.
Ooh. Yo, he's gonna get into the meats of this one.
Before we get into it, this video is sponsored by
nothing much.
Earbuds.
Hey, at least it's not Raid. Hey, yo, Raycons? I'll take that.
Week for pockets, so they're great to take around with you. The main reason I use
He dropped
it.
Did y'all see that smile? Hold on, back up a little bit.
The main thing I noticed is that they're extremely portable. The charging case is small enough to easily fit in your hand or pocket, so they're great to take around
because he dropped it
with you. Also, hey, what's up, people watching this on our reaction channel? That's the thing now, and listen, it's cool, I get it, I'm not mad. But what I am gonna say is there's like 200,000 people out there watching who are currently unsubscribed.
Oh,
These
Patrick,
videos take a long time to make. So when you're done watching Lex,
we subscribe, bro.
Whoever
We
else
subscribe.
you're
Hold on.
watching react to this video,
Patrick, we subscribe now.
The Smith Plays, and subscribe. Now, with that said, let's get into it. The best place to start with the breakdown of this map is with the intro cutscene.
He's calling out.
If the Mob the Dead intro is debatably the best cutscene of all time, Origins is actually the best. While Mob's intro sets up the storyline very personally, showing you the traits of each individual character, Origins takes a world-building approach, setting up the macro details. It sets up a whole new universe in just 4 minutes. And what's coolest of all is that Samantha, the main protagonist of Black Ops 1, introduces you to this brand new story. She explains the war and Germany's desire for power. She explains the discovery of Element 115, the dreadful outbreak of the Templar zombies, and that it's now up to a few elite soldiers to contain it. Now, imagine it's 2013 again and you don't know who these 4 soldiers are. And then boom, out of nowhere, Shadows of Avenged Sevenhold chimes in to introduce you to the new and improved Tank Dempsey. Let's take a moment and for what is essentially the start of the modern zombie storyline, I can't think of a better introduction. Heavy metal, a fan favorite character, and some fantastic cinematics. We've known these characters for almost
hold on. Look at Nikolai. Definitely really cool. Look at that. Look at that. The shotgun Olympia gang. Nikolai Olympia gang.
And as we see some amazingly choreographed moments, we then get to Richthofen as the 4 final meet. He's
using
dissecting who we come to learn is
the Remington new model.
And keep in
too.
mind, this is the guy that just got control of the ether and buried. So players who have beaten the Transit Crew storyline will have quickly learned that this is again something new. And so it's in this first cutscene where the most solid foundation is laid for future maps. Instead of brand new characters,
that song is good though.
We're introduced to 6 people we already know, but they're different timeline versions of themselves. Craig Houston and the writing team at Treyarch reimagined these characters perfectly. They're so fresh, but familiar. Now, today's episode is going to get a bit crazy. Origins has a heap of content, and because so much of it is brand new, we have to cover it all. So it's gonna be long, and I will break this video up into a few sections. First, we'll look at atmosphere and setting, then innovation and gameplay from the perspective of the casual player, then we'll dive into the Easter egg, and lastly, we'll take a look at the storyline. One of the coolest things about Origins is that the intro ends with the robot stomping down on the lab, and then the gameplay begins in that exact same moment. Your characters in the robot are where they were exactly 3 seconds ago. This helps flow from cutscene to gameplay, and is the first of many small details that help with immersion. But even the setup in the first few rounds is super compelling. Our characters spawn in confused and unsure about what's going on, just like the player. If they're by themselves, they will have some neat monologues about continuing their mission, but in co-op, we just get the coolest dialogues. Regardless of the number of players, things are going relatively smoothly until Samantha begins speaking. As you play through the early rounds, she insists that you aid her, and this really sets the overall tone for what Origins will be. Now, if you're planning on beating the Easter egg, it is
look at all that fog.
The early round quotes help to further set the stage with the storyline, but many people claim that it's a little bit too in your face for a casual game. That's because no matter how you choose to play, you are forced to listen to the quest. And this is something that I think might actually hurt the map a bit. So back in the mob retrospective, we looked at how gameplay and storyline are intertwined immaculately. Going to Pack-a-Punch on the plane, for example, is part of the storyline, and so being forced into the quest works because the two are so closely connected. Taking the plane to Pack-a-Punch is the story, and so being forced into the quest works because the two are so connected. But Origins isn't like this. In Origins, the devs decided to give the player more freedom. You can choose not to pick up a single staff part, and this makes the map more free than mob. The problem with this method, however, is that the storyline is shoved in your face no matter what you choose to do. Again, even
mostly when someone takes my favorite staff.
And I think that this does detract from what Origins is just a little bit. Origins is a battlefield on the western front of World War I, and at times the setting feels underutilized. The actual setting of a confusing, war-torn countryside feels hijacked as soon as Samantha starts speaking. She takes hold of the narrative completely by round 4, and anything to do with this being an interesting battlefield seems to be lost. The map structure becomes one-dimensionally set on saving Samantha or her being mad that you're not helping. And so again, if you're planning on doing the Easter egg, it is fantastic, but some people looking for a casual game of zombies will find this frustrating. But other than my gripes with Samantha, atmospherically, Origins is a sound map. There are different weather patterns which add variation, and while it's not beautiful, it does an adequate job of looking as good as it can while staying true to one of the worst human experiences of all time. But snow rounds always look pretty, and the skyline on Origins is powerful. A giant
especially in Black Ops 3.
The sky, tons of planes are up in the air,
which I wonder if he's going to talk about.
An ominous storm cloud sits over the center of the map. Oh, and did I mention that there are 1,000 feet tall robots? And by the way, did I mention that this was on the Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3? And lastly, it's also worth noting that Origins has one of the best soundtracks to any zombies map ever. Locations all have different backgrounds. So
the tank music,
or being in the crazy place will have a different tone compared to the trenches. The score is so well integrated into the map, you might not even notice it, and that's a sign it's doing a perfect job. So Origins has a great atmospheric foundation to set up the gameplay. While the storyline is shoved in your face, unlike on Mob, the actual steps of the Easter egg are not, and this is something that Origins does well for only being the second ever quest map. Despite having some of the most depth,
innovation in gameplay. Part 2, boys. Part 2.
Casually. It's not Kino level easy, but Origins is simpler to navigate than Transit, Die Rise, and debatably even Moon. To turn on Pack-a-Punch, players just need to navigate their way through
definitely
the map,
Transit.
6 generators. Once the map is
and
open and all 6 generators
I don't know about
are turned
Moon,
on, players will
Can
have
you say
access
Moon
to
is
the mystery
easier?
box, 5
Yeah, I'd say
purchasing,
Moon is easier to navigate.
Oh, and there's also the brand new edition of Wonder
The Wonder
Fizz.
Fizz.
Wonder Fizz is a
and
variation
PhD.
of the mystery box, where for 1,500 points you can get a random perk. This features all buyable perks plus Deadshot,
Is he gonna mention
Double Tap, Electric
PhD?
Cherry, and most excitingly, PhD.
Yeah.
The relatively simple process makes
Love your
Origins
PhD.
very palatable for a new player. They can spend a ton of time just playing classic zombies with no tutorials.
Yeah, why would you pick up
There's
Deadshot?
still
Put
more
that back.
simple innovation. The box saw a ton of new weapons. The Ballista,
MG08.
KSG, Scar, Scorpion, and
The Scar is
MG08
definitely my
still
favorite.
stand as fan favorites. The dev team even added a small Easter egg where if you collect 3 orbs with the Maxis drone, you would get a free Pack-a-Punched version. But of course,
That's
nothing
cool.
is more true to
That's cool.
Origins than the upgraded Mauser, the Boom Hilda. The Boom
Basically
Hilda
the
is one of
prototype to the Mark
only
II.
times zombies has steered away from an explosive starting pistol. And I mean, come on, it's a fan favorite for good reason.
And it's
Origins
cool.
doesn't end there, however. One of the beautiful things with this map is that the level of
Definitely love the
complexity
Boom
and
Hilda.
depth can scale to a player's desire. Once the previous methods have been mastered, a player will likely want to dip their toes into something more advanced. And on Origins, one should look no further than the staffs. If there is one great strength of Treyarch that they have managed to deliver on in every single game, it's wonder weapons. And the staffs on Origins are Treyarch's crowning achievement. Origins has 4 elemental staffs, each with their own unique attributes and abilities. For
I'd
a
say
new player,
only
building a
rivaled
single
by the
staff will
by the
likely take some
bows, the Horizon
tutorials,
Drug
but
bows.
shouldn't be too hard. As long as the player is capable of defeating the Panzer, the Fire Staff is quite attainable. All that's left is to turn on Generator 6, grab the disc in the same area, shoot down the plane to get the 3rd staff piece. From there, you need to open the mound, take the gramophone to the spawn tunnel, travel to the crazy place, pick up the Firestone, head back through the portal, locate the mound disc, place the gramophone again, and head
Patrick, where you
all the
going?
way down to the staff's crafting spot. Oh, okay, well, maybe it's not that easy. What I'm getting at is building most of the staffs doesn't require skill, but rather knowledge, and that's what actually makes it accessible to new players. Ice is probably the easiest, only requiring the ability to get to round 9 or 10 for the snow rounds. With fire, you need to be able to kill a panzer, the tank requires mobility skills, and probably most difficult, the wind requires a bit of accuracy, patience, and timing. The regular staffs aren't handed out to you,
Giants.
but they're easy enough that anyone into zombies enough to buy DLC should be able to figure it out. And once a player has learned the staffs, there are a million other things they can choose to do. Picking up the Rocket Gen 2 and bringing it to
Like
the church
upgrading
altar
them?
can simply be a fun side quest. You simply need to cleanse it with melee kills, return it back to its place without stepping in mud to get the G-Strike, a monkey bomb like Ordnance Strike that has the robot fire missiles on a desired location. Players simply need to get melee kills to cleanse it and return it without stepping in mud to get the G-Strike. The G-Strike is awesome. It's a monkey bomb like Ordnance Strike that has the robots fire missiles on a desired location. Or players could try to fill soul chests. Since robots reset
For
them
the
and they
fist.
usually take more than 1 round of zombies to fill, there is a great tension to this step, especially as the player is forced to train in a tight, mud-filled area. Completing all 4 then gives you the upgraded melee weapon, the 1-inch punch. And there's also 3 other smaller challenges which can give you a max ammo, free Pack-a-Punch
And to
gun,
upgrade
or
them,
double
too.
tap. Also, let's not forget dig sites. First of all, dig sites on their own are a fantastic, fun addition to the map. But digging up 30 items with the regular shovel will unlock the player a golden shovel, which is capable of finding better loot. One of the things included in this is a golden helmet,
what kind
which
of
stops all
quality
damage from
video
giant
quality is
robots.
that?
And most
That's how you know it's
iconically,
really
players
old.
can also search for red dig sites when
But,
using the zombie blood drop to find a perk bottle, which adds an
I can't even
additional
see.
slot
I
to
think I need
player's
my
core
glasses.
up to a
Yo, hold on. I need my glasses. Terrible video quality. Now I can
And
see
so
better.
just to give you a better idea of how much content
Guys,
is
I
in
can't-
Origins, let me say it this way.
I can't
What
really
we
see that
just
well, so-
fired through in
Oh!
like 4 paragraphs
Now it's in
would
3D.
normally be enough to fill almost
Gosh.
an entire retrospective.
That jump though.
And we're not even close to
That
being
jump.
done. And so even for a casual player, there is a lot to do on this map. The vessel for Maxis, the opening of the... Oh my god, okay. I've played this map way too much. What I'm getting at
The
is
opening
that
of the
Origins
gateways.
allows itself to be wide open for many different levels of complexity. And in terms of gameplay, I think this is why it's often regarded above Mob. Mob is linear, where Origins is completely open-ended. But of course, you can go even deeper with Origins by upgrading the staffs. Once you've crafted your staff, or even all 4, you can choose to ultimate them. Each elemental staff has a crazy place puzzle, an overworld puzzle, and then a color wheel spinning puzzle in the main chamber. After zapping the staff's respective orb, you must then charge it with kills in the crazy place. And while it is a lengthy process, the map delivers. The ultimate staffs are not only some of the most iconic, but also some of the best wonder weapons in all of zombies. They have a single blast, which is basically an improved version of the elemental shot. The trigger can also be held down for a devastating charge blast. Plus, they work as melee weapons and revive tools with the
that's if you don't have the
capable of
1-inch punch.
picking up teammates. While amongst each other, the staffs actually are quite balanced, but they all excel in their own ways. The ultimate lightning staff, Kimmett's Bite, is the best safety weapon. Shooting at the ground will instantly kill anything in front of you, but the charge shot is the weakest of the four. It shoots this orb of what is essentially a weaker Wonder Waff shot, and it's really only capable of killing a few zombies. This is a fair balance as to how the normal shot is, though. Also, it's incredibly effective at killing the panzer.
Willing to hear what he has to say about the wind staff.
Because when you shoot it, thunder can be heard. So overall, it's just a beautiful wonder weapon. And lastly, it's also worth noting that it has the most ammo at 198. Now the fire staff is the most balanced.
Here we go. Fire.
Its normal shot isn't quite as fast to kill.
I gotta say, I kind of don't like the fire one though.
Better. It spews magma on the ground and is able to kill zombies in the small area where the magma sits. Beginner players tend to gravitate towards this for its balance and because it's easy to build. It also has the second most amount of ammo and is insane for killing panzers. Some people say the fire is better than the lightning for panzers, and honestly, they're both so good I can hardly even tell. Now the ice staff, Ul's arrow, is the complete opposite to the lightning. It has a very slow time to kill, essentially working similarly to the Winter's Howl. If you don't have an understanding
and
of
it got a much needed upgrade.
Incredibly easy to
Black Ops 3.
To use it effectively, you have to predict moments before they arise, and so newer players tend to avoid this one. While completely unforgiving, the ice staff makes up for this by having a ridiculously powerful charged shot. It creates a blizzard where anything that walks into it slows and dies. And while this also takes a bit of
we actually landed that.
Incredibly effective, being the high round strategy for Origins. Relatively speaking, it's not the best for killing panzers, but a fully charged blizzard will certainly do that. And lastly, we have the anomaly of the staff.
Tell me about the wind.
Boreas Fury. The upgraded wind staff works like a thunder
gun, he's using Black Ops 3 gameplay. Alright.
19. In those rounds, it blasts everything out of the way, making it really even safer than lightning. After round 19, however, this effect stops working, and it becomes a weird two-shot kill. With limited ammo, I've always found the wind staff to be underpowered because of this. Its charge shot is a more powerful version of the ice staff, but the lack of ammo actually makes it less effective overall. And so while still a great weapon, I've just always found the Staff of Wind to serve less of a purpose as the other three. Also,
why would you say that? That's so
panzers.
My favorite staff. Why would you say that?
So finally, with all the pieces discussed individually, I think we can now finally put everything together and talk about the Easter egg. Because that's exactly what Origins actually does. Origins adds a whole bunch of new features and says, hey, you can do any of these if you want, or do it all together in a series, and that, plus a few extra steps, is your Easter egg. And I think that the way they choose to do this is much more effective than on Mob. Mob is tighter, but also more linear and less replayable. Now, as someone who has done this Easter egg way too many times, I would argue that it is the ultimate test for a Zombies fan, especially in solo. It's the separating achievement between casual and advanced players. And that's because Origins is one of the few Easter eggs that has every feature of what actually makes zombies hard. So first of all, Origins takes an insane level of knowledge and understanding. To even beat it, you need to remember 15 possible dislocations, know how to get 12 staff parts along with building the shield Maxistrone and finding the gramophone.
Yo, I never thought about it that way.
Put the gramophone. There's also knowledge required for the staff upgrades, like the crazy place wind staff puzzle.
Or
you
need
to remember
Google.
which way every single switch goes for lightning, along with the piano
I
step,
only know the wind.
246. That number is etched into my brain permanently. And that's just
I only know the wind
surface.
upgrade
There is
code.
so much to memorize for this egg that it might be harder than some courses you'll take in high school. But then there's the difficulty factor.
I will take that challenge every time.
Is hard. Jason Blundell himself, the lead of this map, has stated that Origins is one of the most treacherous maps ever. And that's because along with the 2-down hit system, there are essentially no safe spaces. The entire
Yo.
main chamber is tight with ridiculous
Y'all hear
spawns,
his
and
keyboard?
It's easy to get cornered. The excavation site is covered in mud, and this requires movements to be more technical and precise. The crazy place is a constantly shifting nightmare that will eat your soul if you let it. Oh my god,
no.
I literally died on the last step there on stream this week. I hate my life. You've also got the Panzer, and while it may be easy with an upgraded staff, still strikes fear into the hearts of most players on round 8. Plus, there's giant robots which can step
Always gotta worry about
Origins is
Panzer
an
on round 8.
intense map, and losing focus for even a moment will often result in a down or game over. So in order to beat the Easter egg, not only do you need the knowledge, but you also need to stay sharp, or all your hard work will be for nothing. But the thing that makes this Easter egg even cooler is that it requires improvisation. See, a lot of modern Easter eggs are actually really linear. That means you can't beat step number 2 until you complete the first step. Origins does not care, however. You can do any staff, the soul chests, or G-strikes in any order. And what's especially cool about this is it forces you to play efficiently. And that's because the sloppier you play, the harder the Easter egg actually gets. For example, if you waste kills in the early game when you could have used them on soul chests or let a robot stomp on one, the entire rounds will shift forward. You'll suddenly find yourself on the later steps heading into challenging and deep water. And this is tough not just because of the rounds. The 1-inch punch stops being a one-shot at round 19, and so this makes the step Wield a Fist of Iron way more challenging any round after. Plus, the deeper you get into the rounds, the harder the final step will be in the crazy place. Origins forces you to play fast at times and slow at others, and because of this, you need to improvise to stay efficient and even beat it. That is the true key to this Easter egg. And so with the Origins Easter egg requiring knowledge, skill, and adaptability, this is why it's often considered the ultimate zombies player test. So, is that it? Origins is a 10 out of 10, and we can now move on to Black Ops 3. Cue
Doesn't
the
sound like
Shadows
it.
of Evil music.
Streets on flame, it's a mad
Listen,
Yep.
this is the map that I have the most experience with. And
Yo.
so in my many hours of
Look at all those
playtime,
Origin
I've noticed
videos.
quite a few flaws with Origins as well.
Ooh. Yeah,
One
I
of my
bet
biggest
so.
complaints with Origins is that it's tedious. The first run through in a while can be satisfying, as it's essentially just a collectathon. You're getting all these tiny little pieces, and it is so satisfying. But Origins is hard, and you will die. So with this in mind, I find it infuriating to have to reset on this map. The largest portion of the Easter egg is just dedicated to acquiring things, which isn't always necessarily fun. For example, in the world record speedrun in solo, the first 35 minutes of the egg is spent on getting stuff.
It's
The
going so
G-Strike
fast.
Fist makes up part of that, but mostly everything else is just going into
Almost gave me an
upgrading
epilepsy
staffs.
there,
You're
Patrick.
searching dig spots for ice, running into robot feet for wind, riding the tank for lightning, all to have to build everything. And while this is more so a solo complaint, it can be frustrating no matter what. Especially because once you're done upgrading the staffs, the rest of the Easter egg is pretty straightforward. It's challenging, I suppose, but compared to that one giant first step, it just feels a little underwhelming, I think. So I think it goes without saying that the map would have benefited from only needing one staff to be upgraded per player. And Treyarch would
like
learn
Horizon.
from this mistake for when they made Horizon Track.
Yeah.
Now, the co-op side of things has its own problems, however. While in solo, it's already mind-bendingly annoying to keep track of the gramophone, this becomes an absolute nightmare as soon as you have to rely on anyone else. So just as a reminder, upon getting the
Communication is
corresponding
key.
disc, the gramophone must be laid at a respective tunnel to access the crazy place and its crystal. The portal collapses, however, whenever you enter or the gramophone is lifted. And so if a player has left it down somewhere else, you literally can't travel through any other portal. An easy change could have made it so that once you open a portal, it's there for good on each side. This would at the very least save players a lot of time. And honestly, I do think this is one of the poorest designs of the map, which ultimately plays into a larger, more widespread problem. Map layout. Origins is incredibly large, and one of the side effects of this is that traversing the map is time consuming. Oh, wait, we're talking about size of the map. Is Lex getting excited for the Noct reveal? I bet he is. Hi, Lex. Weighing in at 25
Yo, you put
Noct
that
Durant Totens, Origins is one of the biggest maps we've ever seen.
25.
Just behind moon. And while technically Origins has mobility,
You put the little
as
animal
highlighted,
triplex.
there's
That's
nothing
insane.
that actually helps to consistently
The
save
mad
time.
lad.
Origins has no shortcuts. Like, there's the tank, which I don't know if I can even pretend like the game devs thought that this would be a useful piece of transportation. I mean, I can outrun it, the zombies can outrun it, so
I mean, if you have
riding it is pretty
stamina, yeah.
pointless, and really it only serves to get you the lightning staff parts. And using the portals to save time only works if you're going from spawn to Gen 6 or vice versa. Moving any other way will be less efficient because of the time you spend going up and down each tunnel waiting on portals and navigating the crazy place. Now, if you happen to be in the crazy place, using the closest tunnel can be useful, but it's sadly still not as efficient as the map could and should be. And so with all that in mind, you're left to run. Run everywhere. This is especially
Stamina
bad
is,
as the mud slows you down.
must
Now,
have
running the
perk
map with
on this
stamina
map.
can still be annoying, but without it, overall, I
Stamina is a
really
must
feel
have.
like there just wasn't enough thought that went into map flow. Another very necessary thing to point out are Templar zombies.
Ooh, and then
I
in
think
Black
this
Ops
is the
3.
single biggest complaint of Origins, but really it's just more part of a larger problem of poor layout. Because defeating Templar zombies is not difficult. It's necessary, as you can't pack-punch or beat the Easter egg without all the generators on, but it's not hard. Killing 4 zombies standing still is quite easy. What's hard is being at Gen 1, seeing that they are at 6, and needing to run across the entire map to stop them. Not only do you need to traverse this distance, but you'll likely need to turn on a generator again. While I admire the experimentation with this type of mini-boss, I think that Mob did it better. Brutus spawns on you and locks things down, so you actually have the chance to stop him. But Templars spawn far away, and that's their biggest flaw. Like, if Templars just spawned near to you and then ran to the closest generator, I don't think anyone would mind them so much. But the way they are, they're so luck dependent and infuriating.
I mean, really, I don't mind
Another
them
easy solution
either.
would be that they could just not exist and generators would never turn off. That'd be okay too. So Origins
That was
certainly
good.
has some flaws, but I also don't think these problems are any worse than any of the other greats. Running around Mob for fuel canisters is just as annoying. Gorad's Pack-a-Punch requires a full dragon ride every time, and while breathtaking, it can get repetitive. Even with the Wonder Spheres on Der Reisendrak, I find myself needing to do an absurd amount of running. So the bigger takeaway here is that it's obvious that map flow is something Treyarch has constantly battled with in their upscaling. Now, I can't forgive it, but I at least understand it as part of a series-wide problem. It's sad too because there are a lot of neat ways they could have improved navigation. Like if the robots could eject you to different places around the map depending
That would
on
be
which
cool.
pod you got
Yeah,
into. Or
I can
if
see
the
what he's
tank
talking
moved
about.
faster, portals never collapsed, or if the main chamber had a portal itself. Any one of these additions would have drastically helped Origins in the pursuit of perfection. And there's also the forgotten step of this Easter egg. Now, through a miraculous
Forgotten
glitch,
step?
players don't actually have to put 3 staffs into the robot heads, but it was originally intended to be as such. In Black Ops 2, to complete the Ascend from Darkness step, you can place the fire staff in the main chamber down 4 times and complete the step.
Oh,
But
I
in
did not
Black
know
Ops
that.
3, this glitch was patched. And this is so painstakingly bad that I'm inclined to say that it ruins the Easter
I didn't know
egg
that.
for
I didn't know
me.
you could do
While
that.
the flow of the Easter egg can be slow at times, this portion takes it to a standstill. It literally just forces you to wait to get the right robot. And while we're on the topic, Black Ops 3 Origins has gobblegum, more sticky mud, and a Panzer that eats MP40 bullets for breakfast.
That
And
is
while
true.
I don't normally talk about
They
remakes,
definitely
I
buffed
did
the
just want to
Panzer.
mention that BO3's changes are, in my opinion, bad enough to move Origins down a whole ladder tier.
Oh,
Fortunately,
really?
However, Treyarch decided to leave the glitch alone, so it's part of the map. And it seriously saves 20 minutes of downtime. Now from here, players are able to run through the rest of the egg and reach Agartha. And as we move to that final ending cutscene, I think it's appropriate that we now touch on storyline. As I said,
Oh, here we go.
Origins is, well, literally the origins of the modern story. You have the
Yeah,
first
previous
arc,
characters,
which is mostly
yeah.
Jimmy Zielinski following World at War through to Buried. And
See you
while the
later.
two are connected, Origins marked the beginning of a new narrative. Canonically, Maxis gains power in Buried, and Samantha somehow finds herself in Agartha with a connection to Dimension 63 or something. To my knowledge, the ending cutscene takes
I don't know
players
either.
to a time just before Revelations, and that is pretty freaking
Very
cool. What's also so neat is the cyclical nature of the storyline. When our four heroes meet in the lab, this is the reunification of Primus, the four heroes we see at the end of the Rev Easter egg. So Origins sets the stage for everything that happens in Black Ops 3 and 4. While the Easter egg was very poorly received at the end of Black Ops 2, with all the knowledge we have now, it is in fact very neat.
It was all a game.
Lasting contribution. The
Remember when they were like, it was all a game.
Is actually the introduction of our Primus 4. The Dempsey, Nikolai, Richtofen, and Takeo of Black Ops 1 were fun, but overdone. It's
The
classic
Ultimus.
over-the-top zombies humor, but the series was evolving and becoming more serious. Origins shows us the best versions of our original anti-heroes. They're nuanced, logical, and practical people. They share thoughts and insecurities, but are very clearly those who we remember. And above all, Richtofen's character change would go on to be the most compelling. His arc is essentially him trying to undo the
It went
deeds
from
of
crazy
his
scientist
horrible BO1 self.
to being the
I always
nicest-
find it so neat to hear
the
him talk
nicest
about
version
the
of him.
disgust he has for that being. The juxtaposition of the two versions is fascinating, and so overall, despite being a fantastic map, I think the thing that Origins actually did best
Ooh, look at him
was
go.
introduce us to Primus.
Yo, Taki
You
would be
don't
watching that
need
anime.
Origins
He's probably
to make
watching
Black Ops 3
Bleach.
work, but think how clunky the giant would have been if that was our first time meeting them. Instead, the reveal of the giant cutscene was one of the most hype moments in all of Zombies. So, Origins is one of the most influential maps of all time. It solidified Zombies' transition into a large-scale quest-styled experience. It gave us a truly deep Easter egg that integrated some of the most iconic wonder weapons in the entire franchise. It set the stage for the greatest portion of Zombies' history by introducing us to the four main characters of the Black Ops 3 arc. And last, it's where I found my channel. If it wasn't for Black Ops 2, I likely would never have become a YouTuber. I started on that game with less than 1,000 subscribers and actually finished Origins with over 30,000. But there's no
Wow.
map that helped me more in Black Ops 2 than its final release. BO2 was shaky, and Origins rekindled my passion for zombies. While I loved Mob, Origins was the first map to spark the feeling I had for the series in those early days of World at War. It kept me playing during the break between Black Ops 2 and 3, and of course, who could forget the many speedruns we have shared. So along with it being objectively great,
2017,
Origins holds
damn.
a really special place in my heart, and is probably my single favorite facet of any video game ever. And on a larger scale, Origins is the final piece in the puzzle as to what makes Black Ops 2 Zombies so powerful. Transit is the hilarious mess. Town is the casual survival, while Nuketown is the hardcore version. Dire Eyes is the easy high round map, and Buried is the easy
Johnny
quest
J.
map. Mob of the Dead
Buried.
is the movie-like cinematic masterpiece, and Origins
That's
completes the
that's the best way to describe Mob. A cinematic
series
masterpiece.
with the endless depth in gameplay. And so it goes without saying then that Black Ops 3 wouldn't be complete without Origins. But so clearly is it that Origins and Mob are the two best of this game, and they're also the two maps which most influence the modern era of zombies. They're two sides of the same coin, very different, but they also share a strong influential connection. When I play Mob, I think this is the greatest zombies map of all time. Yet when I play Origins, I find myself saying the exact same thing. One map achieves greatness through depth in storyline, and the other by depth in gameplay. Regardless though, they still achieve the same outcome. Origins and Mob sit as the foundational pillars as to which all maps after would sit on. And so because of that, I think to put one above the other is impossible. And
No
so,
way, are we nearing
that
the end?
said, my final rating for
Ooh,
Origins
what's it gonna
is
be?
9.7 out of 10. Double
S.
tier.
Definitely deserving of that spot. Oh, we saw this one. Yo, definitely double S tier. Yo, he was getting really sentimental there about how like it propelled his YouTube channel and stuff like that. That's what I'm hoping for Black Ops 5. That's gonna be Black Ops 5 for me. I'm hoping Black Ops 5 is a good game. I'm calling it Black Ops 5, but we all know it's gonna be called Call of Duty Cold War, Black Ops Cold War, or something. That's what I'm hoping is that's what I'm hoping that Black Ops Cold War is to me what Origins is to the Smiths plays, and I'm wholeheartedly waiting for that to be the case.